Welcome to our pod, and by that I mean on Wednesdays we read. I'm Hannah.
I'm Laura.
And we are two best friends who do a deep dive into a new book series, one book at a time. But right now we are on a special time of Intermission, where we are covering the first two novellas of Before the Shattered Gates of Heaven by Bryan S. Glosemeyer. But Laura, before we get into the plot of those two novellas, what are you reading, watching, and or enjoying?
I feel like it's been so long since we talked. I just looked at my Goodreads and I was like, oh my gosh, so many things that I've read. It's like a treasure trove.
Like 2.5 weeks since we actually talked about reading, watching, and enjoying, because our season finales never have it. And then we did like our bonus episode. So it's just been a little bit different. We haven't talked to each other.
And dry here. So we are thirsting for what the other person has been doing.
Laura's been super busy with baby goats. I've been doing wedding stuff and like getting brand new bookshelves installed into my home and like rearranging everything. And there was a moment this weekend where I was like, are you like mad at me? Or are you just busy? And you were like, I'm just busy, Hannah. And it was just because we had it.
I was like, I'm
each other
not mad.
So
please please just read my text message.
So that's where we're at. So this is the first time we got chit-chatting, and we talked for like an hour off mic.
And then Hannah was like, okay, I'm enforcing that we have to start recording now because I want to go to bed.
So we have so many things to talk about.
But Hannah, I have read a lot of things recently. Perfect. I listened to The Fellowship of the Ring on Libro FM, the Andy Serkis version. Loved it. I love it so much. I wish that I could allocate more money to Andy Serkis's narration career. Like, he needs to narrate more books. Is it possible for him to start narrating more books? Because he is excellent. There needs to be more Andy Serkis narrations out there.
Better than than what's his face on the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes.
Santino. I have to listen to that one. I think I saw the book at the library and I was like, no, wait, you need to.
We're the worst narrator of all time.
You need to listen to the narration.
So bad.
Don't deprive yourself of that. But
you have to experience it.
Yes. So I will do that at some point, just because you gave it such a glowing recommendation. But seriously, The Fellowship of the Ring, all of these books that have been narrated by Andy Serkis, so great. Like, I even was telling my dad about him because I was like, the voices that he uses almost sound like the actors from the movies. Ooh, honestly, like he almost sounds like Sir Ian McKellen. Like, I want to say that his Gandalf sounds almost exactly like Gandalf in the movie. He's got the voices down so well. Like, it's impressive. And even like the hobbits, they have different accents and everything. Like, Pippin has a little bit of an Irish accent, and I'm pretty sure that Pippin had a little bit of an Irish accent in the movie. It's the best narration ever. I can't say enough good things about it, but I will move on because
you have other things to talk about.
People know that I love them, and I will continue to just rave about how wonderful those books on audiobook are. But Hannah, I have a new favorite book.
A new favorite book of all time?
Yes, honestly.
Oh my gosh.
So I've been doing buddy reads. I've been doing several buddy reads with my friend Jason Reads on Instagram. And we read The Paris Apartment together. We read Tom Lake together. And what else did we read together this year? I think another one we did too. Oh, okay. He was reading Jade City and Jade War. And we talked about those together. I didn't reread all of them, but they are like so fresh in my mind still because I just like those books. But yeah, so we've been talking about those and everything. But another one we read together was The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet by Becky Chambers.
I've been dying to read that. You read it without me.
Oh my gosh, Hannah, it's so phenomenal.
I want to read it so bad.
It's so good. We're gonna read the second one together too, because Jason really liked it also. but oh, the characters, the kindness, like the thoughtfulness that's happening, like oh, I'm obsessed with everything about this book. I don't know why it took me so long to read it. Like I this is another book that I just want to make part of my personality because it's so good. And I especially loved the character Sissix. Like Sissix was phenomenal. I love Sissix. I loved Dr. Chef. The characters were so good. I love them so much. I love the different storylines. I'm actually just really excited to read the next book because the characters were just so great and the world building was really cool, but not in like an over the top way where you're like, I'm confused with what was happening because sometimes sci-fi can be that way. But
Yeah.
this is very much like a cozy sci-fi where there's different species, there's different things going on in the worlds, and that there's actual conflict, but we still have characters who are kind and trying to make the galaxy better for everyone in it. And I think
Hmm.
that's really refreshing where it's not all a bunch of people who are like, we're super serious because we're out here trying to just save the galaxy and we hate everyone. Because that kind of seems how a lot of sci-fi is, where it's like, I hate you and I don't know why, but I do. And it's okay, let's just blow up their starship. That like for no reason. Like, okay. But that seems like how a lot of sci-fi is, and this is just a very kind and thoughtful book, just in the way that it's plotted out and the way that the story is written, and especially the way that the characters and their interactions are. I would highly recommend it. Highly, highly, highly recommend it. And I think Becky Chambers is just gonna go down as one of my all-time favorite authors. I know I'm gonna like the next three books in the series, and I'm gonna have to pick up her novella as well. But these books, her books are so good. I can't say enough about the way that she writes and how much heart she puts into her writing and how creative she is too, because it's, I think, difficult to make some of these worlds and some of these things in a kind way for people, if that
Yeah.
makes sense. Because I think, like I was saying, a lot of times sci-fi seems very much restricted to we have to keep this action packed, we have to keep this moving, we have to make sure there's conflict
Hmm.
because people assume that, like futuristic worlds, there's going to be all sorts of conflict, there's going to be all sorts of discussions of things and like what are we going to do next? And we have to figure out what our plan is because we need to move somewhere where we can be safe. And there's all these different colonization things happening, but it's done so well in her
Hmm.
books that they're cozy and they feel tangible.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where it's like things actually seem like this could be a reality that we could be in.
Try to
As,
attain.
yeah. And I just love how The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet was creative and sci-fi, but also tangible and kind and so, so good. Like I am often jealous of some writers when I read their works and I'm like, how are people so smart that they can come up with these things?
Yeah.
Just supremely jealous.
That's
And then
awesome.
Hannah, I'll do one more
Okay.
book. And this was one that you recommended to me. My
This
Sister
never
the Serial Killer.
happens. Oh, did you like it?
It was good. It
Okay,
was good.
good. Okay.
But Hannah, I'm gonna be picky. I'm gonna be a stickler here. Do you call that a thriller?
I I mean, technically it's like a thriller. I feel like it's a thriller. Do you feel like
It
it's not? What would you
I
think it
feel like it's
is?
not. I would say lit fic.
Oh,
I would say
okay.
lit fic.
I mean, it is better written than a lot of thrillers, but I also think that
Yes.
that's not giving, like, I think that that's because too many thrillers are seen as almost like popcorn fiction nowadays.
Hmm.
But I do think that there's lit fic that are
I
thrillers, and it
think
is a
I think
thriller
there that
novel.
this is a book that has elements of thrillers, but I would say it's more lit fic because a lot of it focuses on the relationship between the sisters.
Hmm, interesting.
And I just kind of feel like that is more so something that I would get from either women's fiction or literary fiction than I would get from a thriller.
That's
And this
fair, but
is
I feel like
definitely me just
this is
stereotyping thrillers, but
yes.
I, I need them to be deeper, I guess. Step it up, people.
Well, and that's the thing is that's why I recommended this one to you
Hmm.
because it is a thriller, but it is deeper and it does break some of the stereotypes that I feel like
Hmm.
a lot of American thrillers have
I would
fallen
also say
into.
though that maybe this one is a slower pace than
It's a short book.
thrillers too. It is. It is. I think it was
Uh
only like I think it's just a novella pretty
yeah,
much.
I
Because
mean
I
it's
listened to the
technically it's
audiobook, which was I think 5 or 6 hours,
yeah.
maybe
So
five.
it's called a novel. I mean, I'm
Okay.
looking at the
So it
Wikipedia,
must be.
so it is a thriller novel by
Hmm.
Nigerian writer Oyinkan Braithwaite,
Hmm.
and it is a book
And the
about
audiobook is really good.
it's a book about a woman who is close with her younger sister who happens to just accidentally keep killing her boyfriends and doesn't know what happens. And
Hmm.
she relies on her older sister to clean up after her a lot. And so it
And
is very
there's an interesting dynamic between the two sisters also because the older sister seems to be in a position where she is often overlooked for the younger
mhm,
sister, even by her own mother. And the younger sister is kind of just like expects everyone to just kind of do
fall into
things for her, give
place.
things to her.
She's
Like,
just so pretty.
yeah, she's beautiful. People should offer her gifts. They should bring her flowers. She should be able to just kind
Mhm,
of go out with whoever she wants to go out with. Oh, you're already seeing someone. You shouldn't go out with him. Who cares? It's fine. And
mhm,
I, she also seems to have like you said, a bad habit of getting into these relationships and then somehow the relationships end pretty badly for whoever
mhm,
is in one with her. And she brushes it off or makes excuses for why these things are happening and
mhm.
then has her sister help her clean up the mess.
Yep.
And things get really interesting when the person that the sister works with starts to fall for the younger sister.
Mhm.
So it's an interesting book, but I think I I don't know, I feel like I still want to just call it lit fic, but
I feel like you want to call it lit fic because you have been angered by thrillers recently. So
yeah,
you're
and
like, I did not enjoy a thriller. I enjoyed a literary
no, I
fic.
enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I'll admit I enjoyed it, but I think it's just hard for me to classify it just because I feel like I'm so used to the very much stereotypical thriller
Hmm.
that is like we're back in a small town. Was in the big city for a while, but now I'm back in a small town and I have been pursuing journalism and oh, I'm back in my childhood home, but there's somebody creepy that's outside who's been stealing women from their homes and
But also I fell in love with this hot man next door
good
who
thing I
just has
reconnected with my childhood best friend who I forgot was hot and he also might be the killer. It's unsure at this point, but he lives
oh.
in the apartment above a bar and also works at the bar.
So yes, it is not that type of thriller, but it is a unique thriller that I feel
Yes.
like brings back perspective on what thrillers should often be instead of
Hmm.
what they went towards after the Gone Girl era of
That's
things.
a good way to put it, is that we need to shift back to the
Mhm.
way that we were, or I shouldn't say we, authors need to authors follow trends, honestly,
Yes.
is what happens. And or publishing, I should say,
Hmm.
follows trends.
Yes.
Not always authors. Sometimes authors do too, but more often publishing follows
Hmm.
trends. And if there's a popular book like Gone Girl or All the Missing
Write the next
Girls,
Gone Girl. Yeah, a few missing girls.
a couple missing girls, like one of those, like then publishing is like, oh, this is really popular with white women in the Midwest. So you know what we need?
Mhm.
5,000 of these books.
Yep.
Start writing them, people. And people do
Yep.
because, gotta eat
Gotta eat, gotta
and
make a living.
gotta make a living. That's fine. But at the same time, it gets to a point where people like me feel like all these books are the same and that nothing interesting is happening in them.
Hmm.
So then I'm totally like, okay, this is very much a saturated genre
Yeah.
and I need something different. And then it creates a weird dystopian society for me in my mind where I'm like, I don't know what a thriller is anymore because
I
it,
I do try to go more diverse whenever I get like burnout on a genre because I'm like, well, let's see what it should actually be able to do
Mhm,
if we had variety. Because I know right now I'm reading another S.A. Cosby, who
mhm.
doesn't write thrillers. He writes more like 90s procedural type things that
Okay.
like have flair. Like I would say some of them, it's hard. They kind of like lean on thriller, but not really. It's more like suspenseful,
Mhm.
which I think is a feeling you often get when you read thrillers. So I'm
Yeah.
reading I'm listening to his audiobook, All Sinners Bleed. And
Mhm,
it's about a black sheriff in
mhm,
modern era who has to go hunt down a serial killer. And that has like very thriller elements to it, but because and it has like a lot of the thriller monikers that I think we see of like the more popcorn version of thriller,
mhm.
where like there are just some lines where I'm like, Mr. Cosby, what or like why did we do it like that? Why did we
Right.
repeat ourselves like that? Where he kind of like has moments of flair, but I also like those because it kind of is a throwback to earlier 90s types like thrillers or
Mhm.
procedurals or like more like tense novels that aren't like a woman in an apartment by herself is in danger. Like it's actually
Yeah.
someone having some kind of social commentary in a novel that is easily read by a lot of people.
I get that.
Yeah.
I think that's actually probably a good way to go about your reading with certain genres is to like recognize what have you been reading and do I need to try to read from a different perspective? Like what is the perspective that I've been reading from and why am I frustrated with it?
Hmm.
And like in my case with thrillers, it's obviously because I'm continually reading thrillers by white women who are trying to do a trauma porn thing
Yes.
for white women in my specific
Hmm.
age group and likely area who are like,
Yes.
you know who we will target? White women in the Midwest.
Yes. And like,
And
oh,
so it's likely frustrating to me because I have issues with that group of people
mhm.
because we're the worst.
We are.
And
Except only followed by white men, a la Riley Sager. I read one of his novels and I read about him as an author, and I was like, wow, you
oh,
suck. Like,
oh,
I mean, I'm not saying he sucks as like a human being, but like he
oh
specifically
no.
chose Riley Sager as a writer's name so that people mistook him for a white woman, so they would buy his books because he is a
I'm
white
not gonna
man.
lie, I did not know that that was a man, but
That yeah, that you weren't supposed to. You're supposed to think
okay.
it's a woman.
I
I
thought it was
read
a woman.
one book by him. I hated it. I thought it was the worst book I've ever read. It was called
Cool.
sorry, it
I
uh
think those are
Lock.
super popular right now on Bookstagram.
I know.
The
I
kind of like the
read
thriller version of Sarah J. Maas.
I know. I read Lock Every Door by Riley Sager. It put me off of every single one of his. Like, I listened to
Oh
Megan Miranda
no.
books. I am not above reading a trash novel,
Hmm.
but Riley Sager's Lock Every Door turned me off of him forever. So sorry to this man. But like, it was a book
Sorry, not
about,
sorry.
it was a book about a woman who was like poor, which is interesting to do and like put in a
Hmm.
position where she rents this apartment and creepy things are happening, but because she has no money and no prospects, she's stuck in this situation. Interesting. The problem
Hmm.
was like everyone around her kept being like, "You're the most interesting woman in the world," and this girl had no personality whatsoever. Like so boring. I was just like, "Why is everyone telling me she's like?" And it just didn't make sense
Hmm.
at all. And then in the end, I'm gonna ruin this book, guys. I do not care.
That's
Sorry,
fine.
skipped a minute, I
I'm not gonna
guess.
read it, so
You
please
find
ruin
out
it.
that it's pretty much just Get Out. It's Get Out, but for for white girls. Like
Oh
she is there
gosh.
to be an organ donor for someone else, and
Oh.
that's why she's there. Like they were testing her blood, and I'm like, this is just a Get Out ripoff, and it was like written in
Hmm.
2019, so it was obviously a Get Out ripoff,
Past the.
starring a white woman in New York. So weird. Like it was just, and I did not like it. I was like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
let's make this all about white people. Um, it turned me off of him forever. I haven't read another book of his. So if people tell me like, oh no, he's better, fine, I believe you, but I'm not gonna read with them. Like that's one I can't do.
Do you
So
remember the movie The Skeleton Key
I never watched it, but I have
with
read the
Kate
synopsis of it
Hudson?
multiple times and like watched the end of it. So yes.
Okay, so that also like when I first watched Get Out, that gave me like Skeleton Key vibes a little
Hmm.
bit, but it's different. But that movie, I remember when I first saw that, I think I was in high school and I was very much disturbed by that.
Hmm. I remember
But
that
you
book.
mentioning that like makes me think like, oh, there's another book or another piece of
Movie
media
that's
that
just
is
like,
like Get Out kind of
yeah. What
that
if the
people
worst
seem to
thing
be
that
kind of
happened to
obsessed
white
with
people
these
was
things.
getting into a black body? It was like
Like,
written
yeah,
by white people.
exactly.
Or no, I guess, yeah, I forget what the way of was that, but
Well,
yes.
with that one, it was like that the they ended up being trapped. I'm ruining the Skeleton Key. It came out in 2005. People, I'm
It
not
was also
ruining it.
not a great movie,
It was
so
20 years ago. Gosh, keep up. Anyways,
we're
the
just
Skeleton
like
Key, I'm going
yelling.
to ruin the Skeleton Key for you all, so pay attention. The Skeleton Key ends with the old people revealing that they they get caregivers who are young and attractive and hot so that they can put themselves in their bodies, and then they trap the soul of the young
Other
hot
one
person in the old body
as it
and
dies.
as it dies because they need to remain young and hot and keep moving
Forever.
on.
That's so the worst thing that could ever
The
happen is
worst thing
being
that
a
can happen to
white
you is being
person
an
locked
old
in
white
a
person
an
who
old
is
black. Yeah.
disabled,
Oh
basically,
yeah,
because
yeah.
they are, I think, through most of that movie, the one person in that couple was like a stroke survivor, or
Okay.
they had
Yes.
suffered a stroke and were needing a caregiver because of that stroke,
Yes.
if I'm remembering right. People come at me. I may have incorrectly spoiled this because I'm not remembering all the facts. All I know is Kate Hudson's body continued on, but her
Yes.
soul ended up in Gina Rowland's
Yeah.
body. Then she
Uh
died.
so that I forgot parts of that movie as well. But yeah, what a
But
weird
it
movie.
terrified me in high school.
I didn't watch
2007,
it. I was too much of a
2007 me
chicken to
was
watch.
scared.
I read synopses of movies like that because they scared me. But
Okay, I'm glad that
anyways,
I'm not the only one that does that because I still do that. Where if there's like a movie that I'm like, I kind of want to know what happens, and
there's
I've heard people talking about it, I just Wikipedia and I'm like,
there's
I'm gonna
literally a
forget.
podcast called Too Scary Didn't Watch. I think it's called. And what a great premise because it's yeah, Too Scary Didn't Watch. And it's
There's
just like
also just movies that I just know, like people talk about them a lot, like the movie Seven or Fight Club. Like I've just looked up the synopses for them because I'm like, I don't care to watch them, but people have talked about them enough that I just want a 5 minute
so
synopsis.
Paul, famously of Patreon, who did a
Yes.
Dungeon and Dragons episode with us, also known as my fiance,
DM.
he doesn't watch a lot of movies, but he also isn't the
Mhm.
person who reads synopses. So one day I was like, "Do you know the end of Fight Club?" And he said, "No." And so I'm like, "What?" And so I get like I've put it on our rotation of like one day Paul and I will be
Oh
watching
my.
Fight Club so he can see the ending because he's never experienced it ever. Like he and I watched my best friend's
I've
wedding,
never seen it, but I know the
but you know the
ending.
ending. Like everyone,
Yes.
I knew the ending when I first watched it.
Hmm.
Lots of people do. Like we watched my best friend's wedding and he had no knowledge point from my best friend's wedding, a very famous 90s chick flick. And he like texted his mom afterwards and was like, "Have you heard about this movie?" And she was like,
What?
"Yes." Yeah, and like and it's fun to watch because like I there's never a memory I don't have of not knowing how Fight Club ends. There's
Mhm.
never a memory I don't have of not watching my best friend's wedding. These are all just
Hannah
like
came out of the womb
pretty
knowing
much.
that Fight Club ended a certain way.
Yes. And so those are things that like so I was just watching and he's like, "Well, of course he's going to end up with Julia Roberts." And then it gets towards the end and he's like, "If these two end up together, it's a bad day." And he
Of
like
course, he's going
experiences
to end
it.
up with Julia.
Because it's like, well, of course, she's the main character. She's the protagonist. And I'm like, oh, buckle up. So
I
yeah,
am
it just
shocked.
right. He just has like no knowledge of these things, so it's fun to watch movies. So yeah, we're going to one day watch Fight Club, and he's
I
gonna
wouldn't be
find
able
out
to
what
control
happened.
my facial expressions
I
if he
know,
said that to me, I would be
I know.
like I think it would give
Uh,
it all away.
yeah, it's just it's very fun to experience that from someone who like is a Wikipedia person like
Yeah.
you and I are.
Oh my gosh. Hannah, a couple things I've been watching, and then I'll hand it over to you. I
Okay.
watched a couple of movies on Netflix. I watched Lindsay Lohan's Irish Wish.
Was it good?
Actually, I kind of liked it a lot. Like,
We should do it for the Patreon.
I mean, the thing I appreciated most about this was that they really appropriately cast this movie,
Oh, good.
where sometimes I feel like Netflix suffers from poor casting where they, especially like the main love interests, where I'm like, they don't look either age appropriate for each other or
Oh my
they don't seem
gosh.
to have chemistry. You know what I mean? Where
Yeah.
it's just like you pick two hot people this time, but they don't work together.
Right.
And or it's like that one looks really old compared to the other one, and I'm not believing it. But in Irish Wish, they have Ed Spilliers, who was he was in Aragon and he's been in Downton
Mm.
Abbey and other things. And he was recently in You. And then Lindsay
You.
Lohan
Oh
is
yeah.
the love interest. And it was very much like a cute, like Irish rom-com movie where she very much like a movie of the realm of be careful what you wish for type
Okay.
thing, that
Yeah.
sometimes the best wishes
Things
are the ones
are,
that are unanswered.
yeah.
And so that's kind of how that movie went. But it was really cute. I really thought that the chemistry between the two leads was great.
Oh,
And
good.
Lindsay Lohan still I'm still a fan. Like
Yeah.
been a fangirl of her for as long as I can remember,
There's
honestly.
something really nice about millennials where we grew up trashing on so many stars that like later in life we were like, hey,
Mhm.
maybe we shouldn't have done that. Maybe mental health is real and
Yeah.
people struggle and like people are allowed to grow and become better people.
The other
Like,
thing that I also was commenting to my husband when we were watching this was that Lindsay Lohan looks very good for like she doesn't seem like she's undergone like a ton of cosmetic surgeries or anything like that. She's kind of seems to have aged fairly gracefully.
oh, I mean, I think
And
she's had quite a bit of cosmetic surgery, but
do
that's
you
just
think
me.
so?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I don't think she
That's
has. It
that's a
doesn't look like
woman
it to
who has
me.
had some Botox, but like I don't, but
I mean, I
that's
don't consider
also
Botox to
fine.
be cosmetic
Oh,
surgery
okay.
though.
Okay, that's
I
fine.
I don't consider Botox to be cosmetic surgery. People get that just to like help with wrinkles and stuff. So I I don't know. I feel like if you get a nose job or something like that, or that to me is more cosmetic surgery. But I feel like she looks pretty good for her age, and that she doesn't seem compared to other people where it's like, oh, things have happened. She seems to have aged fairly gracefully in my mind, and I appreciated that in the movie too, where it was just like they're not really trying to push her to look a certain way, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? And they're just letting her kind of embrace that. Like obviously they have wardrobe done and makeup done for her, but she still looked like more like a realistic person, if that
Yeah.
makes sense.
That's fair. It's
And
not like a blowout. Like there's so many Lifetime movies where I'm like, why are you so like airbrushed?
yeah,
Like, yeah.
the other movie that I watched because it was recommended to me by Netflix because I was watching so much Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt was uh Happiness for Beginners, which is based on a book by
Oh
Catherine Center.
yeah. Yeah.
And I haven't read the book, but the movie was a lot of fun. And Luke Grimes is in it too. He, I guess, is in Yellowstone. I've never seen Yellowstone,
I haven't ever
but
watched
I recognize
Yellowstone,
this man.
but both of our
uh,
parents have probably.
Yes. And I recognize this man, and it's likely because Yellowstone is popular, and I just probably have known of him from that. But I really liked that movie. I I I think that was when I had commented to my husband about it, where I was just like, the way that I appreciate this movie is different because Ellie Kemper throughout the movie is dealing with like she's a divorcee, she's had a lot of trauma in her
Hmm.
past, and she decides that she wants to go on this like big like survivalist hiking trip thing
Hmm.
that they go on, and they have to, have all sorts of supplies with them, and it's something to kind of become more in touch with nature and to learn about themselves and to kind of disconnect from the world that they're in. And to her, it's something that she wants to like rise up like a phoenix out of the ashes,
Hmm.
is what she keeps saying. And I don't think that when she gets into this, she even realizes the reason that all of the reasons that she's getting into the trail and why she's doing this course. But when she gets there, she realizes that one of the other people that's involved in this is her younger brother's best friend, who
Hmm.
she's kind of just like ignored for the longest time. He's just kind of always been there. It's one of those deals where like the older sister is just like, oh, it's my brother's friend. Like, you weirdos.
Yeah.
And he has it definitely like played into like the sucker within me because I kept saying to my husband, like, am I a sucker that I'm like think that this guy's a really good actor or is he just that handsome? And
Yeah.
uh, my husband was like, he's just that handsome, you're a sucker. And I was like, okay. But it's a situation where the younger brother's friend sees Ellie Kemper for who she is and what she's going through and recognizes like, hey, you've got a lot going for you that you're not giving
Hmm.
yourself credit for, and you're letting yourself be in these relationships that are not helpful to you and not worth your time. And they grow in their relationship together, that they become friends, and they also become friends with all the other people on this trail that they're working with and everything. And it's actually really touching. And I I think that it's not a perfect movie by any means, but as far as like a Netflix rom-com movie, I really enjoyed it.
Oh,
And
good.
I think that it's fun, but I think I also appreciated in this movie that it was like Ellie Kemper has wrinkles. Ellie Kemper is not always like
Hmm.
dressed perfectly. She has like messy hair throughout a lot of it. Obviously, they're camping and supposed to not be showering and stuff, but she's not wearing makeup in a lot of it, or less makeup. I know
Yeah.
it's a movie, they're wearing makeup, but I mean, less makeup. And I was like, you know what? I kind of appreciate that we can have a female lead in this who is allowed to not look perfect,
Yeah.
and that she also is allowed to be like, yeah, I have issues, I have flaws, I'm not like the perfect girl, I'm not the one that everyone's going to be kind of going for, and I'm divorced and have trauma from my past. And still the hot guy is like, I'm interested.
Hmm.
Because I feel like a lot of times movies, you and I have talked about this before, but movies and TV shows lean hard into the hot girl goes for a guy who is going through similar things to
Yeah.
like what Ellie Kemper is going through, and it's like no questions asked, that's how it should be.
Yeah.
And so I kind of appreciated that. And this is not to say that Ellie Kemper is unattractive, that's not what I'm getting at,
No, no, no.
but
She's very pretty,
she's
but
very pretty. But it's something where it's like, okay, in this, she's allowed to have wrinkles. She's allowed to
mhm.
look more like a normal person than we typically let women in these type of roles. So that was really nice. But it was a fun movie, and I found myself smiling a lot. And I think Luke Grimes is handsome, and I think I probably got a little caught up in that.
That's fair. I looked at his IMDb stuff and he was in
Mhm.
Brothers and Sisters.
Oh, was
Uh
he?
yeah, he was this is I watched so much Brothers and Sisters growing up. What a wild
Okay.
show. Brothers and Sisters was a TV show that like reeked of post Bush era stuff. It
Okay,
started in
cool.
2006 and it starred like it was just a stacked cast. It had Sally Fields and Callista
Okay.
Flockhart and like
Random.
a bunch of
Is
other
this
people
show that
and
was
Rob
similar to
Lowe.
Parenthood,
So
but was not Parenthood?
it was similar to Parenthood, but also not at all. No, because it's like it's very much about like this very rich family. And
Mhm.
Callista Flockhart is a Republican person who works on campaigns, and Sally Fields
Mm.
is a liberal mom matriarch. And in the first episode, their dad dies, and
Ooh.
they find out that he's had like an affair for a really long time, and he likely bankrupted their very rich company. And so there's like a ton of stuff going on with all the family members, and it is about family dynamics a la Parenthood.
Mhm.
Uh, but you meet their half sister, played by Emily Van Camp, named Rebecca Harper, and she was their sister for about 3 seasons before she had too much chemistry with one of the brothers, and then they made them not siblings so that she and the brother could get
How did they make
together.
them not siblings?
They actually weren't siblings. They never did a DNA test. She actually belonged to another man. And so she met the man that the mom had also been sleeping with. And then they made another brother. And Luke Grimes was the other brother they made so that Emily Van Camp could fuck Dave Annabelle. And it's a true story.
What?
remember when it
No.
happened. I was
So
like,
they're half siblings?
ew. No, they're not half siblings. They're specifically not half siblings, but for 3 seasons they thought they were half siblings. And then they
Mm,
fell in love because the two actors had too much chemistry. What
that's
a wild time the early
sometimes
2000s were.
sometimes fan wishes are taken too far. Like,
Well, and this he like had a relationship with her outside, so they were like, well, they must date on the show. And it's like,
oh
no, they
no.
specifically shouldn't date on the show. You
They
made them
specifically shouldn't date on this
like it's so strange that they did that. Why did they do that? What a
show.
wild show. Oh my gosh. I remember so much of and then like you found out that the dad didn't embezzle money. He just like put it into the military because he was a Republican. It was really weird.
Random.
Such a weird show. Oh my God.
Are
I
they
love
still
that.
together? Dave Annabelle is
No,
the
no,
one
no,
that
no,
was with
no.
Emily Van Camp. Is that who
Yeah.
you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's now married to Odette Yestman,
Okay, I
who
don't know who these people are.
it was on House. She was one of the pretty women on House, and
Okay.
she was also in Brothers and Sisters, because of course she was.
Was
Uh
was she another sister?
because Dave has to have his love interest in real life play his love interest on the show. It's a rule.
Oh
I just
my.
remember when they were like, oh, they got together in real life, and then they're like, they have too much chemistry. Let's not make them siblings. And
Oh
I
my.
was in high school and I was like, still weird. Like you still thought it was your sibling. And they were like, we have to fight these feelings. I'm like, yeah, you do. I'm so sorry. That was
But like on
gross.
Parenthood, Lauren Graham was in a relationship with
What's his
Pete,
face? Yeah,
what's his last name? And they played a brother and sister and it was fine. Like
it was fine.
they weren't like, you know what we're gonna do? Make this brother divorce his wife to be with his sister, who he will find out is actually not his sister.
Right? It
She
was
was
just
adopted.
it was so weird that they did that. I just don't understand why that ever happened.
Yeah, I'm
So
not a fan of
everyone,
that.
if you're wanting to go watch a wild show, go watch Brothers and Sisters,
Where's that
where
at? Probably Hulu.
it has to be on Hulu.
I would assume Hulu.
I mean, honestly, like, yeah,
I'll put it in the
if
show
you have
notes.
Hulu, yeah, it's on Hulu. But honestly, Laura, if you want to watch like a really wild show and be like, I don't know what I just watched, but like it goes smooth like
I
butter,
mean,
like Brothers and
Parenthood got pretty
Sisters.
wild at times,
Yeah.
and I enjoyed that.
So I actually think you might enjoy Brothers and Sisters. It was a really weird show. There was like they just had some random takes where like at one point one of the brothers wanted to leave and they're like, what if he embezzles a ton of money and he just has to leave?
Random.
And it was like, okay. And then one of the sisters, like a whole thing was like, her marriage is great. And then they were like, what if it wasn't great? And then she just fell in love with a French man. And it was like, I guess. Like so many
Okay.
things happened. Um, what if one of these people gets amnesia? What if Rob Lowe is there and he might run for president? Like so many
Oh
wild
no, we
things
can't have
happen.
that.
Um, but anyway, Sally Field, man. Uh, so yeah, that is go everyone go watch
Brothers and
Brothers and
sisters,
Sisters.
apparently.
Luke Grimes.
There's lots of drama
He's
there.
he's on season 4 and 5 so that the
Luke
other
Grimes' new brother.
so that Emily Van Camp and Dave Annabelle can go have sex.
Oh my.
But
Too much.
anyway, so that's something I enjoyed when I was younger, but for reading, I read American Born Chinese by Jean Luen Yang.
I love that show.
I haven't seen the show. I really want to watch it. I thought the graphic novel was adorable. It was so fun,
Hmm.
so cute. Made me feel all the feelings, and I really loved
Yes.
how it was plotted. Like I didn't see a
Hmm.
lot of those things coming. I didn't like I was just reading it. I was like, "Oh, this is just like vibes. You're just reading all these different stories and then
Sure.
seeing how the author kind of extrapolated from them and like built deeper meanings." I thought was really well done. So I very much enjoyed that. Um I
It's a good show.
also
You should check it out on Disney Plus. I think it's one of the better shows they've got on there.
well, I need to check it out. I also recently finished Olivia Dade's At First Spite. I read her original trilogy. Olivia Dade focuses on fat women and love interests who are sometimes a little bit too skinny and fit. Fat people can also fall in love with other fat people. Fat liberation is about more than just fat women finding hot thin men. I've noticed that just in a lot of like fat romance novels. It's always a fat woman and like an incredibly fit man. And like that's
Do you think it's
great.
more of like a trying to break a stereotype thing that
I
she's writing that because she thinks that people will expect that
I don't know.
Plus
Well,
size people have to get to quote unquote have to get together.
I
So she's
I'm of two
writing that in a
minds.
specific way.
Sometimes yes, but sometimes it also feels like people are like, well, you still want the escapism. And I'm like, it can still
Hmm.
be escapism with a hot, thick guy. Like it doesn't. And she
Okay.
did have one character who was a plus size man, which was nice.
Oh, okay.
But it's always like very like svelte, thin men. And I don't
Hmm.
have a problem with that. I think it's great to break those types of stereotypes. Different shapes, different sizes can be in
Hmm.
love. It's just like out of the four novels I've read, she's only had one man who doesn't fit a very specific stereotype for what hot
Hmm.
is. And I wish sometimes she'd play with it a little bit more because I would like to see that. They're always super into fitness or super into like eating healthy or things like that, you know. And so it
Hmm.
just sometimes doesn't jive as well with me
That's
where
an
I'm like,
interesting choice to make too, where it's just
hmm
like people can also, not have that as their main interest. Like
yeah.
you don't just because you look a certain way doesn't mean that that's like your main interest.
And I guess in this one, like he wasn't as like interested in like working out or doing this, but he did work
Hmm.
out quite a bit. And I like it was just sometimes I'm like, okay, he is like very neurodivergent, which is nice.
Okay.
I always love seeing that where, just different things about him were different. And
Hmm.
he was someone who is kind of a late bloomer, like he didn't really have time for romance in his life, so he gets to
Hmm.
experience that for the first time. But sometimes I'm just like, they could also have body diversity and love interests just as much as women have body diversity. So, but that's just
I would kind
something.
of appreciate more body diversity in general in
Hmm
books. Like I know like just speaking for myself that I I feel like there's a lot of just general shaming of certain body types and
hmm
I don't appreciate that. Like let's not do that. Let's also, like have representation of all body types. I don't
Yeah,
know.
agreed. So I read that and then but I liked it. I thought it was a cute book. I thought it
Mhm.
was really fun. She writes really good, quirky characters who have some good
Dig it.
stuff going on and dealing with mental health struggles and dealing with everything. So that's really nice. And I liked this one because it was also very much about like a woman who tried to go get an education and then didn't know what
Mm.
to do with it and was kind of hard on herself
Hmm.
about it. And that is definitely something
Appreciate that.
appreciated by both of us. So I really liked that. I really and like you can obviously I will say the other one thing that I kept. So at first bite, she is originally dating his brother. They're
Oh,
engaged,
okay.
kind of a whirlwind romance, and then they break up, and then she gets involved with this guy. It is really hard for me to do the logical leap of like, did you two have sex? Because now you're just sleeping with brothers, and that bothers me. I don't know why, but
I don't like when that
I
happens in
really
books or
don't like
movies
it.
because it's definitely a hold up for me where I'm just like,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but there's no way that you're with a sibling and sleeping with them, and then you're just totally okay with
I
not
mean,
being
I
with the
recently got
sibling and
on
with another sibling.
I was
Like,
recently
okay,
scrolling through a TikTok drama where a mom had an affair with her daughter's husband. So it
oh
happens,
my.
but it's
I mean,
it's
it does happen, but I
ugh.
just feel like it's usually more in like the scandal type way, like that, where
Yeah.
it's not the, oh, we're all totally okay with this. And it's like, I don't know. I
Yeah.
don't think
It
that that would feel right to me, but
it kept me from loving it a little bit because I kept being like, but you also had sex with his brother.
yeah,
And they never
I,
comment on it. And at one point she's like, well, I don't feel bad because we're all adults here. And I'm like,
oh, I don't
I don't
know.
know. I don't know about that, ma'am.
It's less of it's more of like the awkwardness of it all where it's
Yeah.
just I don't know. I don't know how to feel about that.
But yeah, and then I read this will be the last one I discuss today. We'll have more to discuss next week, and you and I
Yeah,
will
I have a lot more to
so many
discuss too.
tangents.
Watch so many things too.
I know, but I really just want to focus on brothers and
I know.
sisters. No.
Keep going.
I also read A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah
Oh
J.
my.
Maas.
Oh my.
Laura, I was promised that if I read the first book, I would like the second book so much better.
Who
For a
made the
lot of the
promise?
time, lots of people, many people told me when
Oh
they found
my.
out I was very
Is
meh
this the
on the
blue
first
book?
book. This is the blue book.
Okay. Yep. This is the better book. I've heard this too.
Yeah, you've heard that it's the better book. This is the better book.
The
It's
blue
so
one.
good. It's so great.
The best one they've
Um,
ever read.
I I will say the beginning of it, not so bad. I was reading it for a
Okay.
while. It's a big book. It's a big book. I thought, no,
Mhm.
Sarah J. Maas has a good plotting narrative. She's pretty good at plotting. Like she's pretty good at keeping it going.
Okay.
She sets stuff up. She has it result in something. She's repetitive. We've all
Okay.
been there. I'm repetitive. It's okay.
Mhm.
Then I got certain sections and I was like, this is gross and misogynistic
Oh no.
and the worst. And I don't know why people like it. And I instantly got turned off from it. And I did not
Oh no.
like my experience with it. And I thought it fell to pieces. And also, then it made me think back on the book and I was like, did I actually like the beginning of the book? No, because sure, there were certain things
You
set up,
were
but
tricked.
I was tricked. And I did remember like the beginning of the book feeling rushed, where like we built up an entire novel of something happening, and then in the second book, it's like, but what if all of that was absolute gobshite? What if none of it
Oh
mattered?
no.
And I kind of knew certain plot points of these books
Hmm.
through osmosis. And so I was
Through
expecting
osmosis.
of like
It's so
book talk and
infiltrated
Instagram. Like
into
it's so
society
infiltrated
now.
into society now that you just kind of know what's going on. And so I knew something was going to happen. And when it happened, I was like, oh, I was expecting it to take longer to get there. And it took like no time at
Oh
all. I
my.
was like 15% in the book. And I was like, I guess we're doing this now.
Oh
And it
my.
just, and then she would set stuff up where she was like, oh, now you'll understand this person's motivation. And I was kind of like, no, I don't. I still don't understand their motivation.
Oh no.
I think he still probably made a mistake because he was
Oh
still
no.
just like, and we just didn't agree with a lot of it, and it just wasn't for me. And yeah, I don't know if I will read the third one, because it
I
just
in I recently saw somebody on Instagram put up a thing in their story saying that they just abandoned the first book because they did not appreciate the way that some of the characters were treated. And they're
mhm,
just like, I'm not reading books where characters are treated this way anymore. Like, just not doing it. And I'm getting sick of people promoting books like this. And I was
mhm,
like, whoa. And don't know what that is in reference to, but I kind of trust that person on
yeah.
Instagram. So I was like, oh, this is one of those things where maybe I don't know how to feel. I don't know.
I kind of did it as a thought experiment because I actually had no interest in doing this book, but
Are you gonna finish the series?
I I don't know. It was a good thought experiment, but like it was a lot. It was a lot. It was so many hours of my time. And I listened to the audiobook and I could get the other audiobooks off Hoopla like right away. And
Yeah.
I still don't think I want to continue. Like I just don't think it was very effective
The
storytelling
way
for
that
me
these
personally.
books have become so popular and that like I know so many people that like adore these books and they're like now they're like we're readers and it's so difficult for me to just be like but there's so many other books that are likely better and at the same time be like I'm glad people are reading it's I struggle.
Yeah,
I'm like
it's
I'm on a rope that people are playing tug of war with because I really want people to get into reading and if this is the way that they do, I guess so. But at the same time, I'm like, please pick up this book. It's called
other
Babel.
book. Yeah, it's
Please
called
pick
Babel.
up the
It's so
fifth
good.
season. Please read Becky Chambers. Like, here's
And
Mark the
again,
Wells.
I will read a trash novel, guys. I'm not above it. I think it's
Mhm.
good to sometimes like a
I
little
am
bit of
definitely above
trash.
it. I never read trash
You
a la
never read
Rooster
trash.
Rooster
Never.
Fetter.
But like, there's just certain things about that book where I don't like how many people love them and some of the stuff that like happens in them. Like, there's moments in these books where
And the
it's
way that people
like,
can't recognize it. Like,
yeah. And also, like, there's a lot of sex in the kitchen. And this may be my most prudish statement, but ew, get out of there. You eat in there. Like, don't do
mm.
that. I just, as adults, like, being an adult, I feel
Like
like
they're
is
cooking
realizing,
while
like,
they're
no,
doing
like, they
it.
just finished eating dinner. And I'm like, that's even worse.
Yeah,
Could you
you need to get
imagine?
those leftovers put away. That's
Yeah.
unsanitary to leave those out.
Like, and sometimes they're like, it's just there's so many people who go into these books and like the silliest things of them, and some of them I can suspend my
So you're
disbelief.
saying that Sarah J. Maas did not take a microbiology class?
Sometimes Sarah J. Maas will be like, look, Feyre is in leggings and a sweater, and I'm like, sure, Sure. Okay. I'll bet. I'll take it.
And
But
Reese's
like
Pieces is doing something
and
else.
Reese's Pieces is just over there telling her that he gets to be territorial because he just likes her so much. And I'm like, well, this is
Yeah.
dangerous to tell young women. That's not how
Yeah.
that works. And so, yeah, I didn't like that. I think
Yeah,
it's
don't
a
blame me.
very weird novel. And um, yeah, I think
It
sometimes
blows my
people like
mind
it
that
because of
people are
the
like making
drama.
this like all about their personality too, where it's just like they're going so hardcore in this and like this is the best book I've ever read and everyone should read this book. If I could recommend one book to you, it'd be this. And I'm like, really? Wow.
I
Wow.
don't think
The
it's the
Owen
one
Wilson.
book I'll
Wow.
recommend. I don't I think I thought about it and I think we should
You thought
all
about recommending it and then
I
you're like,
thought about it being my
no.
one book that I recommend to others, and like I think I'm good. I'm okay. And I gave it, you know what? I was pretty rude. I gave it a 1 star when I could have given it a 2 star. And honestly, part of
Wow.
it that went into it was I was like, so many people just give this a 5 star straight out without thinking about anything.
Yes.
And so I can be extra picky and give it a one
Yep.
star when technically I probably would have given it
That
a
will
two
not
star.
even make a
It
dent
won't make a
in
dent.
the
It
ratings
won't
for
make a
that
dent,
thing.
but it will make me feel better about it
Yep.
because I spent like 16 hours of my life listening to this book to and from work.
Wow.
And sometimes I was like, wait, what does that character look like? And I would look up the fan art because I was like, it exists.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't care for it. I don't like that everyone has insta love. It's like I met two people and that one is the one I will be with for the rest of eternity. That's a really long time.
Hmm.
It's a really long time to be with
I
someone.
don't know about that.
Yeah, like I think sooner or later you get sick of them. Like around year 2000, you're telling me you still want to hang out with the same person all day, every day?
I really don't feel too drawn to these books, but
I
I
think you're
I
good.
don't know.
I
I don't
don't know.
know.
It'll be fine. It's fine. I just wasted
I
some time
enjoyed
with it.
listening to Friends Talking Fantasies episodes. I'm so
uh
glad that they read it.
yeah, I'm so glad they read it. I'm less glad I read it. But yeah, so that's we'll leave it at there, and then let's get into a book that I enjoyed way more, which
Yes.
is Before the Shattered Gates of Heaven.
This one's so
So
good.
this one is so good. I'm gonna like warn everyone. It is a sci-fi book, so a lot of what
Mhm.
I'm going to talk about is heavy world setting
And action.
and action. And sometimes the action is just we know how Hannah is with action, so please forgive me.
And
I'm
also,
not gonna go
we
into the
don't
details of
necessarily
it.
need a
I don't
play-by-play
need a
of
play-by-play
she jumped
of
off this
the
and went
Vlies.
after that, and then she bounced off of this and attacked here. Like
I had the
that's
main
you're supposed
points.
to read the book.
You're supposed to read the book. This is just a recap, guys, where
We are
we
recapping.
riff on the
We want
plot.
you to buy Before the Shattered Gates of Heaven.
So we meet the girl with no name, but not Arya
Mhm.
Stark.
No,
Uh, the girl with no name.
this is another girl with no name.
She just reached the age of 18 and she's with her sister, who she calls her brood sister. This world is very dynamic and interesting, sometimes
Mhm.
difficult to
So it's
describe.
set up that basically these people are treated as less than human. They are humans, but
But
they
humans in this world are treated as less than, so they
yes,
are
they're
as
less
bad
than
as
they're one
humans,
of the like species that is subjected
subjugated,
to yes. And they live in these tunnels underground and they
called
have
labyrinths.
yes, they have kind of a couple choices in life basically that for women that they can either choose to become fighters and fight in these pits in
Hmm.
order to maybe possibly become servants if they don't
Hmm.
die, or they become hens, which are women who just
It's
get
what it
pregnant
sounds
and
like.
raise babies.
But it's also even like darker than that because it's like, oh no, 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 you're
Yes.
not having sex to get pregnant. Other women are getting pregnant, and you are an
And
incubator as a
yes,
hen carrying the egg,
they remove the embryos from these women without them knowing or
knowing.
consenting
Hmm.
and then implant it in these other women, which is terrifying.
It's not great. So, and I do think that like there might be different planetary systems with these, and that the human
Yes.
are called like human cavazel. They're seen as like subjects to the gods and
Yes.
the divine wills. And they have no name because they are worthless. So the
Mhm.
girl is from a mining world. What is she, Katniss Everdeen? No. And it talks about how
Yeah,
she's
because
never
there's like there's like an agriculture sector
Yeah.
and yeah.
And she's never seen the stars, but she's obsessed with seeing them.
Mhm.
She's going through the trials to become a servant because she doesn't want to be a hen. Servants are people who are who want to fight for the gods and the divine masters. In
Mhm.
order to become a servant, you must win 9 battles. When you turn 18, she's going into her ninth battle. And her sister was a woman who is meant to breed. She's a hen. But again,
Her
she is
sister, though,
not
it's a
carrying.
brood sister. They're not blood sisters. Keep in
Yes,
mind, they're brood sisters, so they were just raised
raised
together
in the
with
same group.
by the same brood mother
Hmm.
or the same hen. And our girl with no name, we find out, is actually a blood relative of some pretty
Some pretty
important
important
people.
people. Jinx, you owe me a so no.
We
The
didn't say it at the same time.
I think we did in my ears, so maybe we did it
Oh,
over the recording, but
oh,
we also find out that the girl's grandfather is an attendant to the masters, very important person.
yes,
He is
blood
known,
relative.
and his name is Spear. He has kind
Mhm.
of pushed her to be a servant and trained her to do so in the ways that he can. It's a little wishy-washy on
Mhm.
how effective or
It's a
how
little
like
weird because
intricate.
it's like he shows up randomly and like imparts
It's
advice,
like,
and
you should be a
then she,
servant, and then he leaves the room.
yeah, and he's
I
like,
was
I
like,
did this, and she's like, "Oh, that's what I should do." But
do
it's
that.
also it like comes from a place for her in my mind where it's like she definitely aspires to have the life path that he has
Hmm.
taken because he was able to fight his way out and up into such a great
And
position, and she's
yes.
definitely desperate to be anything but a hen.
And it's known that like the mining community a lot of time doesn't have people who could survive the trials. So
Yes.
it's a pretty big deal that her grandfather was so high up, as well as her mother, who is a handmaiden to the
Mhm.
divine masters. And the divine masters are the people who serve the gods.
Yes.
Um, And this is a system where it is also very much built on putting glyphs on a person, kind of like tattoos,
Hmm.
something for
Hmm.
their name, for their rank, for their honors, all of those things. And she's excited to get a name glyph on her if she wins. Um, the girls'
Which is just
trial.
like so sad to me because like I felt really sad in that whole section where it's just like you find out about that she's like excited to get a name, like she's excited to go fight
Mhm.
someone in order to like have an identity. Oh, how sad.
And she very much buys into the system where she is like, I
Oh
can
yes.
have a name finally, and my sister can have
I
one.
can be someone.
Yeah, I will never name her, and even in my head, she is just
Hmm.
my sister, and that is it.
Hmm.
Um, but they also, she and her sister are talking about who she has to fight, and the sister's like, you have to fight that disgusting thing again, don't you? And so we find out that these are creatures called the Vlees, who are a type of alien
Hmm.
race who are seen as less than. They can't
I was
breathe the
almost
air that
like picturing
humans.
like an ant.
Yeah, it feels like they're
Like an
ants.
ant-like
Yeah.
creature.
And they like can't really breathe the air we breathe. They can't really
Mhm.
communicate with um
They
any of the
communicate in a
people.
different way. It's an
Yes.
alien race that
Yeah.
just
They
isn't
don't
really
speak the
as
same
understood.
language.
Hmm.
But they are seen as even less than humans, and they're seen as
Yes.
dangerous and against the divine masters. So she meets with her grandfather before the fight, and he's like, oh, I need to introduce you to the war seers, who are a type of race who are kind of an off race from the overseers who watch over everyone. So there's these different
Hmm.
types of groups named different things, kind of tangential to each other, with really good names where it's like,
Hmm.
oh, these ones have horns and these ones have 3 horns and they look
Yes.
like this, and it's very good world building. So
Yes.
um but kind of as humans as
Honestly, the
these.
imagery in this book is excellent because
Yes.
like I could picture this all and like
Oh
I
yeah.
definitely was like seeing a movie in my mind.
Very, and it's very movie, and in certain parts I'm like, well, this is just a great video game that I'm reading about right now.
Kind
So
of.
yeah.
I think this would make a really good movie though
Oh
if
yeah.
it was adapted.
And before the fight, people who are fighting receive a brew that kind of enhances their abilities, but also makes them more prone to violence or
Hmm.
like more agitated, those types of things. And so she goes to fight the Vlees. And she does talk about how they have been rejected by the divine will of the 9 gods. They warred with the old masters, and they shattered the gates of heaven with the
Hmm.
trickster. And she fights the Vlees. During this time, there's like back and forth. The Vlees ends up badly wounding one of her breasts, and it's about to kill her. And then she kind of sees it shake its head, and she's like, it made a fatal
It wasn't
mistake.
just like an attack for the breast though. It was just
Oh,
like
it was like a
the
gash
chest
all the
in
way.
general. Yeah,
Yes,
but
yes,
it
sorry.
just like bisect her left breast, if I'm remembering right. It's the
Yes, I
left one,
believe so.
right?
Yes, I believe so.
Which makes me think it
Apologies.
was like a way to get towards the heart because it was like an axe
Mm.
almost that came down.
But also during this time, like I felt like there was a moment where the police didn't want to kill her, because it like kind of shakes its head and it's shaking its fist at the divine masters and overseers, and she
Well, I
sees
thought
it
it was
as the
bragging. She thought it was
oh,
like a
she thought it
brag.
was bragging, but I thought it wasn't. I thought it was like probably this creature didn't want to be in this position, cannot communicate, and is being forced to fight
Mm.
this person and didn't want to kill them
And then stopped.
and stopped and like was shaking their like hand at them being like, how dare you make me do this? And then she takes the opportunity because she doesn't understand it and she sees it as an evil
That is good
entity.
insight, Hannah, that we aren't
um
understanding these creatures enough. See,
mhm.
I was literally just taking it exactly the way that she was, that it's taking the opportunity to brag, like, oh, look, I won.
Yeah, no, I took it as like he did not want to be there. So she
Mm-hmm.
takes advantage and cuts it down, and she's able to kill the fleas. The girl is given a name in a very sweet moment where she's like, I have a
Mm-hmm.
name. And it is Sabira. Because she has triumphed, she's able to have sex that evening with a gentleman.
That is the reward.
That is her reward, is this person who must come and, give her her reward. And the person is called a pillow.
Mm-hmm.
And that is their job. And the person's talking to her during this time is kind of trying to connect with her a little bit.
Yeah, he
And
seems nice.
yeah, and he's kind of like, well, aren't you mad at the divine masters for making you do this? They're the ones who hurt you, because like she's pretty wounded at this time. And he talks about
This
his brother.
conversation is interesting too because like he very much like considers himself to have an identity and questions the system a little
Mhm.
more than she does. And she's just very much like, why are you saying this? I could
You
have you
have the
reported.
you have the trickster inside you. Um, and he like he's just kind of talking to her about how his brother died during the trials. He could have been a pillow,
Mm-hmm.
or he felt like he would have died working in the agra area,
Yeah,
agricultural stuff. And he kind of says, like, I don't even think the divine masters exist. And she's like, they do exist. My mom saw them
right.
once, and that is very funny. Oh,
And then he, I think, immediately recognizes, like, okay, I think I'm saying too much here because this is
hmm
actually somebody who is well connected. And so then he immediately is like, you're not going to tell anybody about what I said, right? And she's like, well, I could say something because you're saying a lot of blasphemy, and I am not a fan of that. And he's doing a little bit of backpedaling here where he's like, okay, that's not
well,
what I meant, though, right?
right. Well, and he kind of has a moment where he's like, well, I gave myself a name. My name is
Mhm.
Zevna. And
Well, his
she
mother gave him a name and
oh
he
his
just kept it.
oh yes, she called him that. And so he's like,
Hmm.
well, that is
It
my
was a
name because that
nickname,
was what
and
I was called.
mhm.
And she's horrified by this. And
She's like,
there
we
is a
do
moment
not have names,
where
and
she's like, well, could I be wrong about my system? And then she's like,
yeah,
nah.
nope, not at all.
And that ends the first novella, which is a good setup. Like I thought it was
Yeah,
really interesting to kind of have the setup of like getting a name, being
it's very
someone.
much like enough shock factor with things
Yes.
going on that it just draws you in.
And so we start like in part two, second novella, where Sabira is with
Hmm.
her new crew of servants, uh, playing a game with Canon and Dagira. They're playing a game called Obesia, and Sabira is running through armored animals called Granks. Her grandfather kind of taught
I
her
kind of
like,
pictured like rhinos.
yeah. And her grandpa's like, look, if you move fast enough, you could probably get through them and you'll be fine. And it
Hmm.
gives you an edge up on everyone else because everyone's way too afraid of these like giant armored animals.
Well, and she's
Uh,
lost multiple times, and she just like really wants to prove herself, especially because like her and Dagira have like this like weird relationship where they,
where the entire
I
time I'm like, Dagira has a crush on you. Get over
yes,
it.
like I and the way
Like
that Sabira cannot understand that at first
sexual
is like,
tension.
seriously, you just thought that she literally hated you this much?
She's
I
like
don't
kept
think
looking at
so.
you and being like,
Yeah,
you. And she's like,
like
okay. But
no.
also Dagira has a terrible way of showing affection where she's like, well, I also must win or crush you
Hmm.
because I like you.
It's very
So
much like an extreme version of like, I'm gonna pull your hair because I like you.
I'm
And
gonna
like
make
all the
rhinos
insults,
stampede you.
the names and everything. Like, prove
uh
yourself.
So and Sabira is one of those people who like walks in and she's like, I must be the best immediately, or else I bring shame upon my family's name. And it's like, well, no,
She has
you
a
have
lot
to
of
learn
anxiety
first.
about that
Yeah.
because there's so much like on her shoulders, and the other people kind of expect so much of her because
But a
of
lot of people
who
don't
she
know
is.
where she comes from. She's just really worried about them finding out
Yeah.
about it too. So,
And once
um,
they do
they
expect
do.
that.
Yeah.
And then they're
And
like, oh,
so
Nepo baby.
Dagiro wakes up the rhinos in order to ruin Sabira's chances of winning.
Hmm.
Sabira like barely makes it out alive after a slight stampede. And Dagira does win. And Sabira also was like, hey, dude, you kind of like cheated with the purpose of making sure I lost. And Dagira's like, yeah, what about it? And she's like, well, I want to hate her, but I can't. I understand where she's coming from, and they understand where I'm coming from. And they all get punished. They have to clean the pens, and
Hmm.
and there's like a punishment where they get their
Clean
back
the Grank
marked.
pens.
They get their backs marked and they have to
Yeah.
heal and scar to show their shame. We found out that Sabira is obsessed with the stars. She's often caught watching them. She's called One Tit or Stargazer. No, which nickname I'd prefer more.
Yeah.
Um, and then we find out the servants are supposed to bring unity to kind of the galaxy under the gods and
Hmm.
divine masters. They think one day they will go before the shattered gates of heaven. Hey, that's the name
Hmm.
of the book. And see their
Working
gods.
in the book title.
Working in the movie title. Grandfather Spear comes to visit. This is the section of the book where Sabira just walks into rooms and she's like, I know I messed up really bad. And
Yeah.
everyone else is like, you need to calm down like 10
Like,
steps.
it's fine.
It's
Everyone
okay.
makes mistakes. We've all done that exact same thing. Cool
Yeah,
it.
like you were just trying to build camaraderie. We've all tried to be in with the cool
Hmm.
kids, okay? Um and she it's like, I know I didn't bring honor to your name. I need to work harder and I haven't been on
Well,
enough
she has this moment where she's like,
missions.
I'm so disappointing. I know I am.
And he's
Like,
like, I'm
okay.
not that disappointed. He's like, I do expect you to be smarter, but you like are capable of great things. You just must live according to the divine will. He tells her he has a special mission that that they like some of the divine masters were involved with, and it was
Hmm.
decided that she would be involved with it. And she's like, they know about me? Um
He's like, well, because I told them about you.
And they want to go to a system near the far side of the gates. They want to infiltrate it, take control, and bring the system under the one unity. And there will likely
Hmm.
be some fleas there. And at this point, she's like, hey, I'm not really a skilled person yet. Are you sure? And he's like, don't worry about it. We are sure.
We have the
Um,
utmost faith in you. You're
yeah.
special.
But he also is like, well, you are kind of a nepotism baby. So sometimes people want
Hmm.
favor. And so like they probably ask for you to gain favor with us as
Yeah.
well. Um, and so during this time, Uh, she has a moment where she just really wants to sleep with her boss a little bit.
She just really does. For
Uh,
multiple reasons, because it's like she thinks it's going to increase her status, but also she just wants to.
yeah.
And it's one of those things where she mentions it so often, and then they have this ceremony where like she gets the opportunity to sleep with them,
It's
but then she's quickly unable to. She's like, oh crap.
so it's a ceremony where you get to like fight someone for honor, but you could
Hmm.
also fight them to like sleep with them, I guess, if you want to like
Yes.
honor a different god, because there's 9 different gods. There's
Yes.
certain ones. And before this like mission, she goes and talks to the boss man, and she's like, I dishonored you and I'll do better. And he was like, look, you're before the
Call her.
conqueror god. And so you're kind of being a little bitch about it. And if you're gonna come before the conqueror god, you have to be chill. And she's like, okay, okay. And so then yes, they have this like trial where Dagira calls her in and she's like, okay, I'm gonna fight her, I'm gonna beat her, and then I'm gonna have sex with my boss.
Yep.
And that's the plan. But then Dagira
Plan doesn't work.
kind of gains the upper hand over it,
Mhm.
and ends up asking to have sex with with Sabira, also
Sabira.
known as drilling. And
Yes.
so Sabira answers that call, and this is
I will
like,
just say though, before this, like Sabira has done like so much like planning out of this in her head. Like she definitely has so much anxiety where she's like, I'm just gonna imagine how this scenario could work out. Here's what I'll say. Like, I'm going to say, I call you, Arrow. And
yes.
it just makes me laugh where it's like she's planning all of this out so much. She's like
Here's
thought
the
about
thing.
this so much.
She's 19. I also had moments when I was 19 where I'm like, I'm gonna go to the bar. I'm going to see so and so across the room. I'm gonna
This is
go
what I will say.
dance near them, and then they're gonna come want to come talk to me. They never wanted to come talk to me. It's fine. I'm funny now. But like
Uh,
I also had this anxiety and I also acted like this. So
I mean, I
sometimes
have to look up coffee
mm,
shop menus and plan out my order ahead of time. But this is just like a specific thing
this
where it's just like planning out the conversation
so
the way
what's
that you'll
real
say
is Sabira is just a theater girly.
it.
That's what she is. So yeah, she doesn't get to do any of that. She and Dagira
Mhm.
kind of start this tumultuous relationship where they both are taking like,
Yeah.
oh, we get to have fun together, but
Well,
also we
and
have this
this is
animosity towards
interesting
each
too
other.
because like Sabira has kind of a hard time with this a little bit where she can't quite figure it out where she's like, yeah, I guess we're like kind of like in a relationship,
Dating?
but
I
no,
don't
we're
know.
not. Like I
Right?
don't know. Do I feel this way about her? I never really thought about it that way. I thought I liked my boss. Like weird.
Thought I liked my boss. Yeah, it's very strange. So she has a lot of back and forth with this.
Hmm.
But they're getting ready for this mission. They have to go to this planet 1397-4. And they kind of go over on the ship. Sabira is still very interested in looking at the stars. Her grandfather's like,
Yes.
I liked the stars too when I was your age. And it's really
There
about the
must be
mystery of
more
the
to this
divine.
provincial life.
I'm going to make Belle my wife. That's Takira in the background.
Yes.
Um, and so they go onto this planet. They're discussing how they're going to infiltrate it, and this is where I was like, oh, it kind of feels like a video game where they're like,
Yeah.
we will be cloaked. We will go into the middle of the city epicenter, and we will take over everything. And I'm like, well,
Were
that's
they
a
like laying out the mission? Is that what you're talking about?
yeah,
Yeah, I could
yeah.
see that.
It just felt like a very much like a video cut scene in a video
Yeah.
game where you're just like, here's the mission. You're gonna be cloaked. You can't get too close to these police guys. They're evil. And it's like, oh, okay. So,
Yeah, I get
um,
it.
she kind of goes in, she's expecting something revolting, and it's kind of like she just walks into a city and she's like, oh, I
Hmm.
guess it's just a city. Um, and they start moving to get to the area. She's with like Collar Arrow and Attendant Spear. Her grandfather's there. There's
Hmm.
also Hatchet and Hachetta, I think is the other one. They're all named after
Hmm.
weapons.
Yeah.
And then Cannon. So they're all kind of traveling under the skies, getting into the city epicenter under the cloak of night, as we just told you in our video game
Right.
recap. And as like they only have so many hours before they're unable to breathe, so there's also a countdown clock, which is also very video
Yeah.
game-esque. But they start getting into this area and there's just like little Vlee's children playing, and this was where I was like, oh, you guys feel really mean. They're all like,
Yeah.
we're gonna murder those children, and I was like, excuse you, they're
It's
children.
very much a situation where they don't understand this species and they're coming in and destroying them. And it's like,
They're coming in
but
pretty hot, and
have we
so
thought about the colonization that's occurring here? I guess
right.
not.
And they're supposed to be going into this like one little area, and it's supposed to be like kind of a distraction for a main fighting force to really go in and take
Hmm.
over everything. Um, and so then they're kind of standing there, they're getting ready, and there's like this weird orb thing in the middle of like a fountain type area,
Yeah.
and something starts happening and all of their cloaks just like immediately come down.
Hmm.
And then everything kind of goes to shit where
Yeah.
Dagira starts shooting at a child. And like the police answer in like it's a terrorist attack in their minds where they're
Yeah.
screaming, they're
Hmm.
running, and everyone else just starts fighting
It's like
and killing
literal
people.
chaos right now.
Hmm. And so they're all trying to move, trying to like get to where they need to be or get to where they can help, um and get there before the police military comes in. So this is like a huge fight with everyone's trying to fight through it, and there is just
Hmm.
total chaos. The police show up with pretty big fighting area because like it's their city, they had military
Right. They're
forces.
trying to defend it.
Hmm. And it feels like during this time Sabira has moments where she doesn't feel great about like murdering children or murdering everyone, but she's still doing it.
It's like
Um,
it's similar to the conversation she had in the first novella where she like is hearing these things and she kind of questions it for a second. And she's like, no, 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 can't be.
mhm.
And now she's at the point where it's like now she's living an experience and seeing something and she's got to question it. And it's like, okay, first it was just you're being told about this and it's allowing you to question it. Now you're living this and you have
Yes.
to question it.
And during this time she also has moments where like certain friends are getting killed during the struggle. So
Yeah.
like Hechet and Hecheta fall. And then she almost gets hit by acid and Cannon like saves
Hmm.
her, but in doing so, like opens himself up. And so they're trying to like fight their way through things. Dagira's with her and Cannon. And then Cannon is killed.
Hmm.
And Dagira is also hit with like an acid that has Sabira worried. And they kind of get to this rooftop where Sabira is able to take out someone and
Hmm.
then they're kind of Spear has a moment where she's like, well, everyone around me is dead. Like she thinks that Spear has died by this point.
Yeah.
Arrow suddenly is with Sabir and Shagira until he dies. So it's just like a lot of chaos and a lot of people just
Hmm.
falling prey to this. So they're up on
Have we hit the point yet though where Daguerre is like, great, now my nickname is gonna be One Tit.
yes, I think so. Like at one
Did we
point
hit that
she
point
gets
yet?
yeah, she got blasted with
Okay.
something and she's like, well, now I'm one tit. And it's like, oh,
And I was like, really? That's what
Sagira.
you're worried about now?
Uh,
Nicknames?
but Sabira kind of gets to this rooftop. She's like, okay, we die here. Like, this is
Hmm.
it. This is where it's coming. Um, and Dagira is kind of just talking to her through this. She's trying to get her to hold on to stay with her and not die.
Right.
And then like this smoke and vapor comes in, and she thinks like, oh my gosh, they're gonna kill me. And in this moment, she thinks the gods don't see them. And a huge part of
Mhm.
this is like, I see you, the gods see you. That goes on a lot
Yes.
in this novel. So she has a moment where she doesn't believe and she doesn't think she's going to
Hmm.
be before the shattered
She's
gates.
questioning her faith at
Yeah.
this point.
Um, and so someone comes up and they say that she looks just like her blood mother. Um, and and it's like a memory she has of talking with her
Hmm.
grandfather when she was little. And he talks to her about the divine masters and what it means to like live in the shafts and then to be seen by the
Hmm.
gods, to be chosen and servants. Um, and he like leads her and her brood sister through the labyrinth and he like doesn't really care about the brood sister. He's kind of like, yeah, you're here too. And
It's
so
not a blood relative, so it's just like,
yeah,
meh,
he doesn't care.
you don't care.
And he talks about when the gods first came to the air, like to the world, they destroyed the mechanical armies of the old masters. They like turned down, like tore down their cities, and a few of the old masters like survived this huge war,
Hmm.
and they were the ones who kind of associated themselves with the Vlees and shattered the gates of heaven. And so it's a
Hmm.
pretty big like scene setting, and then Sabiro
Yes.
wakes up back on the rooftop and
Hmm.
she suddenly sees a human face over hers and the person has a knife at her throat and she's like, oh my gosh, you've been tricked. Anyone who doesn't believe what she believes, she's like, trickster.
Which, what a way to like mess with your mind though. Like if you've been so
Mhm,
entrenched in this viewpoint that if somebody isn't doing the same thing, you're like,
mhm,
oh my gosh, you've been brainwashed. You don't understand. And it's like,
mhm. And
let's
so
back
he's
up a
holding a
little.
knife to her throat and he's talking to a Vlies and he seems to be able to communicate with it. And he's like, you
Hmm.
don't understand. She kills for these people. She's bad. You can't trust her. Like, you have to stop.
Hmm.
And they're like, no, 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 tie her up. We have to take her with us. And so
Well, she's concerned that they're gonna like abuse her and maybe
mhm.
eat her or something.
Yeah. And so he puts a breathing mask over her so she's able to breathe. And then
Hmm.
they take her away from Dagira and into a building and creeping black nothingness as the divine will fell burning from the sky. Thus ends
Hmm.
the second novella. This is a good book. I'm having a good
Yes.
time. Like Laura and I are secretly big sci-fi fans, not so secret after
I
Murderbot
mean,
Diaries
not so
Diaries,
secret, really.
but I feel like it was a hidden secret. But like anytime we read sci-fi, we're like, no, this is a good time. I'm having a great
Yeah.
time. So
I'm
uh
full-fledged sci-fi girly. I'm like, I love Becky Chambers, love Martha Wells. I love Jonathan Nevaer's work. Like, yeah.
yeah.
Total sci-fi
Laura's a huge,
girlies.
and I'm like a lighter sci-fi because I just forget to read it all
You
the
like a
time. But
different
anytime
brand of
I read
sci-fi.
it, yeah, I like weird sci-fi. So we're
You're
both
more into
sci-fi
like
people.
dystopian
Mhm.
sci-fi, like
I'm
on the
more
edge of
into like
horror. You're like
science
dystopian
fiction,
horror
nature takes
sci-fi.
over everything, and you're just like, yes, nature is
I'm
its
in like
own beast. You're in
I'm into
space.
like the nature and space opera-ish
Yeah.
stuff.
So yeah, but this has been a good time. I can't wait to read the next two books.
Yes.
Everyone make sure you're following along, make sure you're buying this.
Pick up before the Shattered Gates of Heaven.
It's good. We're having a good time.
Yes.
I love all the glyph discussion. I think it's really the artwork on this is beautiful. You can tell this woman is someone who has never seen the sun
Honestly,
on
I'm
this
not gonna lie.
cover.
The cover scared me a little bit. Like that woman scares me. Like she's
That one
staring
scares me.
so intensely. But
I
that
thought
is
she was
just
a robot when
me.
I first saw
Me.
this cover, but
I also did. I going into this had no idea what it was about and was like, "Uh-oh,
I
this is
dream
an
of
AI."
androids.
Like, ah.
But yeah, this is a good time. It's been good so far. I can't wait to see why religion is the bad guy all along. So, because that's the
And
energy
we
I'm
will.
getting, and we will. Laura's already read this book once,
Yes.
so this is her second time through.
This is
She's still having
my
a good time.
second time. I
Boop, boop.
I would highly recommend this book to people. I hope
Yeah.
you pick it up and are following along with us.
Please do, because it's been a good time. And make sure that you're giving Bryan support. Make sure you're giving all of
Yeah.
the indie authors support. And
He's
make
pretty
sure,
active over on Instagram. I don't know
yes,
that if
he
he's
does not have a
on other
Twitter.
platforms. Okay.
Um,
But definitely on Instagrams. Doom Bunny Brian is
Doom
his
Bunny Bryan. And
handle over there.
I've interacted with him since like I started my Instagram. So
Nice.
he's been pretty great the entire time. He's always been so supportive. So make sure you're picking up his book and supporting him. And make sure you're rating, reviewing, and subscribing to us. You can find us at OWWR Pod on all the platforms. You can look at ourpod.com, where I've posted on our blog recently. And make sure to
Yeah,
follow
great
us
review
over.
over there.
Oh, thank you. Make sure to follow us over on Patreon if you want to give $1, if you want to give $5, if you want to give
We appreciate any
$10,
amount of
$3,
support.
any amount of support you want to give. We appreciate it.
Even if you
It
just want to share and
yeah,
tell your friends about us.
please do because word of mouth is so important. And make sure you're also picking up Dresden File stuff for after Intermission. We haven't spoken on this
Year
in a
of the
while. The Year
Dresden.
of the Dresden.
I've
And if you
already
guys,
read Stormfront
she
and
has.
Friends. I
She's talked
have
about it
so
so
many
much.
thoughts.
I haven't read it yet. That's not my homework yet.
So many
Um,
thoughts, friends.
But make sure you're following along with all of that. And please rate, review, and subscribe. And join us next week to finish up the plot of Before the Shattered Gates of Heaven. Bye.
Bye.